When these men, these unscrupulous men, wolves in sheep's clothing, come in and begin to draw away from the church, people unto themselves, they have removed Christ from it and have formed a denomination, which in most cases can be equivalent of a cult because the people are drawn to them. I have heard people say, don't talk about that man, oh, he's my papa. Meaning what? Meaning what? If he's teaching error, we shouldn't correct error because he's your papa. That is a cult leader. If indeed we are ministers of the gospel, we must teach the flock that we are one in every locality. But this is what denominations do. They erect walls. What do these walls do? They keep the people within them in captivity and turn their gaze on the leader. In some churches, or rather, in some denominations, the doctrine that the believers listen to is the doctrine of that church that tells them who the founder is, who the leader is. It tells them how they should come under the cover of the leader, the human leader that is. It removes Christ. In fact, the leader tells them that God speaks to them through him. That's not the New Testament. That's an Old Testament teaching that has snuck in to the New Testament church. In the New Testament, every believer has a relationship with God and must therefore have a link with God. But the denomination tells you that your link with God is through a man. That is how you know it's not a church of God. The church of God tells you to go to God. It encourages you to go to God. It teaches you to have relationship with God one-on-one, so that by the time the prophet is prophesying or saying something from God, it is going to be a witness in your spirit that this is what God is saying. And even if it were the first time you are hearing what the prophet is saying, and you go to God, God will confirm it to you. You must have a relationship with God. Otherwise, you might end up in a cult. It is why people can traverse from one denomination to the other, looking for somebody that will hear from God for them. So denominations are essentially a nursery of spiritual babies with nobody mature enough to lead. And you now have babies begetting babies, because as they are planting branches, mimicking the church, they have nobody that has been developed enough to run those churches, but they now send babies to those churches. And so you have a cycle of immaturity, immorality, unholiness in the denomination.